Goodreads put out a list of their most read books of 2023. I've read a lot of books on this list, 29 out of the 39 to be exact. The 29 I've read, I will go through in rapid fire. And feel free to keep your own little checklist to see how many you've read out of this list. I feel like that's so fun to do. Anyway, the 29 I've read are Fourth Wing, Happy Place, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, It Starts With Us, Daisy Jones and the Six, A Court of Thorns and Roses, The Housemaid, I'm Glad My Mom Died, the only memoir I read in 2023. I really want to read more memoirs this year. It Ends With Us, Verity, A Court of Mist and Fury, Book Lovers, Icebreaker, Twisted Love, Things We Never Got Over, The Silent Patient, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, my #1 favorite, Young Little Mystery, in case you were wondering, Beach Read, Things We Hide from the Light, Twisted Games, The Midnight Library, The Love Hypothesis, Every Summer After, The Fine Print, Malibu Rising, The Inheritance Games, The Summer I Turned Pretty, The Song of Achilles, and Red, White, and Royal Blue. But then there were also 10 books on this list that I have not read yet. So I thought it'd be really fun in this video to read some of the most read books of 2023 that I haven't read yet. The 10 I haven't read is an interesting list because some of these I've heard of and know are so popular, and some of these I haven't heard of at all, which really surprised me. The first one I haven't read is Lessons in Chemistry. I think this was Barnes & Noble's Book of the Year in 2022, so no surprise that it's on the list. Then we've got Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which I do really want to read. I've heard just nothing but amazing reviews about this book. Then Spare, Carrie Soto is back. I haven't read a Taylor Jenkins Reid book in a while, so this one would be fun to read. The Perfect Marriage sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't really know anything about this book. Same with Remarkably Bright Creatures. Actually, I hadn't heard of this book at all before I looked at this list, which surprised me. Oh my gosh, Love Theoretically. Wait, why did I not realize it was on this list? I love all Ali Hazelwood books, so of course I would love this book. Mad Honey, haven't heard of it all. Throne of Glass. I think out of every book on the list, Throne of Glass I would like the most. I just love Sarah J Maas, but it is a huge series, so very intimidating to start that series in this video. And then lastly, we have Yellowface, which I've also heard a bunch of great things about, and I love this cover. I think it's so striking. Okay, which book out of that list to start first? They literally all sound so good, which I guess is why they're on the most read list. I think I'm just gonna go to Barnes & Noble and walk around and see which book on this list I find first, and that's the one I'll read. Let's go to Barnes. First book I've spotted off the list, but I already own it. Not on the list, but what a cool cover. There were so many popular books on the list that I was looking for, like Carrie Soto is Back and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, that I just couldn't find anywhere. It's quite possible that I am just blind, or maybe they're so popular that they sold out. I don't know, but I was struggling. And then I did end up looking at and buying some books that are not on my list of the most read books of 2023, but I bought them anyway just for future reading, but I won't be reading any books not on the list in this video. That was a struggle. I had so much trouble finding the books on my list, but I finally found one, Spare by Prince Harry. I'm glad I found this one. I really don't know much at all about the royal family. Like, I know like the base events from history, but I think this is gonna be such an interesting read because I really know nothing. And then I went into the bookstore planning to only buy one book, and I did come out with 2 more. That is how book shopping always goes. I have no self-control. I got Shadow and Bone, which I've already read and I already own, but I own the TV show cover, and I really like these original covers, so I wanted to get this cover, especially because the second and third book in the series I own are these covers, so now I will have a matching set of covers. And then I got Betting on You by Lynn Painter. I just love everything by Lynn Painter, and when I saw that there was a book by her that I hadn't read, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to buy it. Oh, this book is kind of thick. It's over 400 pages. I feel like she always writes more like lighter 300-page romances, so I'm intrigued by this one. I just got back from the bookstore. I'm gonna start reading Spare. Once I finish this book, this will be the first book I've completed this year, which is kind of cool. I've got a few New Year's resolutions this year. One of them being to read 90 books in 2024, and another New Year's resolution of mine is to learn a language, specifically Spanish. Danny has some family that lives in Mexico, and we're actually going to a wedding for one of his family members in Mexico, which is gonna be so fun. And I would love to be able to learn enough Spanish by then to speak to some of his family members and other wedding guests in Spanish. Like, how cool and like meaningful would that be? I did take Spanish in college, but I feel like I forgot a lot of it, and I was definitely never fluent. So I'm using Lingoda to brush up on my Spanish and just in general to learn even more Spanish. A huge thank you to Lingoda for sponsoring this video. One of the biggest hurdles for me in college when I was trying to learn Spanish was just overcoming the anxiety and the fear of speaking Spanish out loud to people. So I really love that Lingoda's classes are small interactive groups that are a really safe space to get you speaking with confidence, because that's really the area I think I need the most practice listen. And they also have practice materials for you to work on outside of class. I also love that you have the flexibility to start at any level depending if you're a beginner or already know some of the language that you're studying. Like I skipped some of the intro classes so I could start learning new phrases. Vamos a ir de vacaciones en verano. ¿A dónde vas a ir? Lingoda is also doing a 60-day language sprint, which I think is just perfect. One of the hardest things with any resolution or just learning anything new is actually sticking to it, being consistent, having that self-discipline. So with this language sprint, that's a great way to challenge yourself and hold yourself accountable to actually being consistent. And there's a reward, which is the best motivation ever. You can challenge yourself to complete 30 classes in 60 days or 60 classes in 60 days. And if you finish the sprint and follow all the rules, you can get 50% of your money back or even more class credits. And Lingoda offers sprint classes at different times of day, so you can find a time that fits your schedule since they have classes offered 24/7. You can join Lingoda's next sprint by clicking the link in my description and using my discount code. The Lingoda Language Sprint Challenge is discounted by up to 30% until February 7th, but my discount code, it never expires and gives you an exclusive discount of $25 US. Good morning. So far I've read page 77. We're right now in Prince Harry's childhood. We start off pretty much right off the bat with Princess Diana's death, which was very hard for Harry, but he also talks a lot about paparazzi and the media. He has just had some truly awful things written about him, from him literally just having a bad haircut when he was a child to him being accused of being a drug addict, which was false. I just can't imagine mentally withstanding like this much negative media coverage at any age, but let alone as a child. And especially when some of the things that the media was writing about him were false. Even things that were true, like him having a bad haircut at a young age, seems so trivial, like it wouldn't really impact you that much. But just imagine being a child and their entire news articles talking about how bad you look and all you did was get a haircut. It just seems like he could just breathe and the media would somehow find a way to make it negative. I also think it builds a really interesting conversation around privacy and wanting to be private and have your privacy and things in life that are just for you and not for the public's eye, but also wanting to be in control of your own narrative and your own story. I just got the audiobook from my library, so I'm gonna listen to the audiobook while reading the physical book because it's narrated by Prince Harry. I just got to part 2. So far, I just feel like this book has shown how very human Prince Harry is, which like obviously he is a human being, but I think it can be so easy with people who are really famous or who are very important like political figures to dehumanize them. Just reading so much very raw human emotion, I think it's honestly very refreshing and really caught me off guard, even though it shouldn't have, because of course Prince Harry is a human being. I'm officially halfway through the book. Also, I do still have my Christmas decorations up. Shh, I have to take them down. The book covers so many details about his life, which I didn't expect, and in a way it's kind of cool because I think it's so rare that we get such an inside look into the royal family. But then on the other hand, I don't know that I'm like a royal family stan to where I needed to know like all of this information. I think some parts honestly could be condensed, just my personal opinion, but I also think that kind of the question of who am I to critique how somebody wants to tell their own life story and how much of their own life story that they want to tell. Good morning. It's, I think, 2 days later. The last time I saw you guys was on Friday and it's now Monday. Lately I've been trying not to film it all on the weekend just to take a little social media break, but I did a lot of reading this weekend. I'm on page 378, so I have just under, I think, 30 pages left. The book is broken up into 3 sections and I'm really liking this last third section. We get Prince Harry meeting Meghan, which is so cute, like them just falling in love, but also all of the struggles that they have gone through, especially with the media and also with the royal family itself, that leads them to where they ultimately are today. And we're like pretty close to being like fully in present day, which I think is really interesting because I know a good amount about where they are now, but not the full story of how they got to where they are today. And then I also started the Assassin's Blade. I'm going pretty far in. I literally could not stop reading this book this weekend. I am so excited to tell you guys all my thoughts on this book so far, but I'm gonna finish Spare first and then we'll talk about the Assassin's Blade. I finished Spare. Oh, it was so good. The ending hit too. I think my favorite was Harry's childhood. And I'm just so happy that Prince Harry is able to write this book and take control of his own narrative for probably one of the first times in his life. Now moving on to The Assassin's Blade. I know technically Throne of Glass is the book that's on the most read reads, and you can technically start the series with Throne of Glass, but I've heard a lot of recommendations to start the series with The Assassin's Blade, which is the prequel. So I'm gonna read Assassin's Blade in this video. This book is really fun. It's a prequel made up of 5 short stories. Over the weekend, I finished the first 2 short stories, The Assassin and the Pirate Lord and The Assassin and the Healer. I love that right at the beginning with the first story, we just jump right into the action. And Selena, our main character, is an assassin. She's a 16-year-old assassin. Like, how badass is that? And this third story that I'm about to start is called The Assassin and the Underworld. We've gotten a bit of world building, but I'd still love to know more about the world. So hopefully we get that with this third story. But yeah, I'm gonna do some reading. I'm eating this book up. I feel like I'm gonna finish it so fast. I got cold and it felt very fitting to put on my Akatar hoodie. I just got to page 273 and the romance is getting so cute. Something just happened on this page and I'm like, my heart is swooning. Honestly, went to this book really expecting no romance. I figured just knowing Sarah J Maas that this would be a romantasy, but I just thought like maybe romance would come way later in the series. And we didn't have any romance in the first 2 short stories, so it's really just the cherry on top of the cake that we're getting a little bit of romance. And also the fact that I love the first stories so much without any romance. As a romance girly, just shows like how good the fantasy is. Good morning! I am so close to being done with The Assassin's Blade. And also something so horrible has happened. I read it this morning and it was so heartbreaking. I did honestly see it coming, I would say. So it didn't like hit me as hard if it was a surprise. I feel like it was a little predictable, the bad thing that happened. I don't know. I'm curious if you've read The Assassin's Blade, if you started with this book in the series, did you predict the ending or not? But either way, it was still so heartbreakingly good and I am not ready for these last 17 pages. I have more predictions. Let's see if they happen. I just finished the book and oh my gosh, the like ending, the last 17 pages I did not see coming. Definitely took me off guard, surprised me. I think I'm gonna say 4.25 stars just because I think there were parts that felt predictable, and overall I think this book felt like character building and world building and basically the setup to the series, which is the prequel, so I guess it literally is. But I'm just so excited for Throne of Glass to like actually launch into like the full series story. I do love that I feel like we got to know Selena's character so well in this book. She's so badass, like just being an assassin is so sick, and I really appreciate that she felt like a very full and well-rounded character. She definitely has flaws as well as good traits, and I just appreciate a character who isn't just perfect. I love when characters do have weaknesses or flaws to them because it just makes them feel like real people. Even though I'm giving this book 4.25 stars, I'm so confident that the overall rating I'm going to give the Throne of Glass series is going to be 5 stars. Okay, on to the next book. I just got it in the mail. This is the book I was most excited to find at Barnes & Noble, and they didn't have it, so I ordered it, and that book is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I love this cover. So colorful and like the wave is really cool. Anyway, I literally know zero about this book besides that it involves video games, and that's it. So I'm going in so blind with just the knowledge that this book has gotten incredible reviews. So I do have like pretty high expectations, which makes me a little nervous because what if it doesn't hit those expectations? But I feel like it will. On to part 2. Hello, I just found to page 79 and I'm feeling mixed about the book. I always feel weird when I read a book that everyone is just like obsessed with, loves, has such high ratings, and I'm not sure if I like it. I just don't feel that invested so far. I've been feeling a little bit bored, to be honest. This is definitely a book that is about the characters much more than it's about the plot, I feel like. And I just don't know that I care about Sadie and Sam that much. Like, I don't know if I find them that relatable to me personally, but they are interesting characters. I don't really read literary fiction a lot, and whenever I do, I oftentimes feel like I really appreciate the book, but I don't know that I've ever really been like obsessed or just like really loved any literary fiction I've read. And that's how I'm feeling right now. Appreciation, but not that feeling of like can't put it down that I want to feel ideally every time I read a book. They are starting to get into making the video game though, so I'm hoping I'm gonna get way more interested as they keep making their video game. Let's talk about tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. It's a few days later, and I think I have officially DNF'd this book. I know. I feel like that's gonna break a lot of people's hearts because this book is so beloved from everything I find. So it really confuses me that I didn't like it. What I did like, I liked the video game plot a lot. Once the video game plot picked up, I thought that was super interesting. There's so much that goes into creating a video game, like coming up with the storyline for the video game, and deciding on the style of graphics, and then creating those graphics, promoting the game after it comes out. I thought learning about all of that was really fun. What didn't work for me, the author, she jumps around a lot in timeline, and also we follow multiple characters and their third POVs. I think the overall thing is it just felt like we were covering a billion things at once to me. I totally understand that we're following a huge chunk of Sam and Sadie's life, and we're really following every aspect of their life, their health, their relationships, their work, their friendships, even their parents. We have this whole plot following Sam's mom and like her career. And I think that's the appeal to a lot of people, is that you really get this fully well-rounded look at these characters. It's really a character book, but I think all of that just continued to add to me feeling like it was very all over the place. I don't feel like I could get really invested in one character or one plot line because there were just so many things that we were covering. So yeah, that's my opinion. I think I'm so heavily in the minority in this opinion. Objectively, I can for sure see why so many people love this book, because I think the things that didn't work for me are the appeal to other people. Let me go grab the other two books and let's do a little recap. After reading some of the most read books of 2023, I think I can now answer the question, are popular books worth the hype? I think overall, yes. Assassin's Blade, loved. Fair by Prince Harry, also a love. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, obviously didn't love, but I think that brings us to the final lesson, which is no matter how good a book is, no matter how beloved a book is, if it's not your style, if it's not your kind of book, you're still not gonna like it just because it's popular. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me on reading popular books from 2023. It was so interesting to read the whole Goodreads list and read other lists, because I'm definitely going to be paying attention to those books and maybe picking up more books from that list, just because it's interesting to see what everyone else is reading and find out for myself if they're popular for a reason. But yeah, with that, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!